Imagine trying to hold fine sand in a tight fist. The more you grip, the more it drains away through the cracks between your fingers. But when you finally relax your hand, the sand settles gently in your palm, and you realize you never lost it at all. That's the first secret to releasing what hurts you. Most of us are terrified of that open hand. We cling to relationships that have grown cold, to versions of ourselves we've outgrown, to dreams that were never meant to stay. We tell ourselves that persistence is strength, that if we just hold on a little longer, a little tighter, we can reverse the flow of time. But true strength isn't found in the clench. It's discovered in the release. Letting go is not losing, it's making space. Modern psychology reveals our minds are wired for something called negativity bias. We feel the sting of loss about twice as powerfully as we feel the joy of an equivalent gain. This isn't a character flaw. It's a survival mechanism gone awry in the modern world. It's the reason we stay in situations that drain our spirit. Because the known pain feels safer than the unknown possibility. We confuse the familiar with the necessary. So when does the shift begin? It starts the moment you recognize that your clinging is not love. It's fear. Fear that without this person, this job, this identity, you will be lost. Fear that the void they leave will be a permanent emptiness. But what if that space isn't a void? What if it's the very room your life needs to finally expand? Psychologists discuss a concept known as identity foreclosure. This is when we fuse our entire sense of self with an external role. I am this person's partner. I am that job title. When that role dissolves, it feels like a part of us has died. That's why breakups and career shifts can be so devastating. It's not just the loss of the other, it's the loss of the you that existed in that context. But here is a truth we rarely hear. Letting go is not one grand, dramatic moment. It is a quiet, neurological process. Your brain has built neural pathways based on expectation. When you release an attachment, those pathways must be rewired. Your mind, craving the familiar pattern, will desperately try to complete the circuit. This is why you replay old arguments, imagine different outcomes, and get stuck in loops of what if. You are not weak for this. You are human. Your brain seeks narrative closure above all else. Yet, healing does not live in the realm of explanation. It lives in the territory of acceptance. And acceptance is not approval. It is the simple, profound act of ending the internal war between what you wished had happened and what actually did. It is stating, this is my reality, without the constant, exhausting addendum of, and it shouldn't be. This shift from fighting reality to facing it changes your entire neurological state. Neuroscientific studies show that acceptance calms the amygdala, the brain's alarm center for threat and fear. When you choose to let go, you are not surrendering. You are turning down the volume on your internal emergency broadcast system. This is why peace often feels so quiet. It's not the absence of feeling. It's the settling of your internal weather. Picture yourself before a gate you've been trying to force open for years. You've pushed, you've pulled, you've called out. It remains shut. Then one day you simply step back. Not in defeat, but in a moment of profound clarity. You see that the gate was not locked to keep you out, but to guide you toward a different path, one that leads to a season that is right for who you are becoming. Some doors close to save you from the wrong room. This is what release often is. Understanding that closure doesn't always come from outside answers. Sometimes, you grant it to yourself by walking away. But we hesitate, burdened by guilt. Guilt whispers that we are abandoning someone. Shame insists we should have done more. And hope, that stubborn ghost, argues for a future that has already passed. So we remain suspended, living a half-life in a place of emotional purgatory. Psychologists call this ambiguous loss. Grieving something that is physically absent, but psychologically present.
It is the most difficult grief because there is no ceremony for a potential that never came to be. To truly move forward, you must practice emotional discernment. This is the skill of holding two truths at once without letting them destroy you. You can miss someone deeply and simultaneously know they are not good for your well-being. You can mourn the person you were while courageously welcoming the person you are becoming. You can cherish a beautiful memory without needing to live inside it forever. This is the mark of emotional maturity. Many believe that letting go means the love dies. It doesn't. It means you learn to love from a distance that no longer causes you harm. It is wishing someone well on their journey, even if that journey no longer runs parallel to yours. Compassion without entanglement isn't cold. It's the ultimate clarity, and clarity can feel strange at first because it lacks the familiar drama. We are so accustomed to the noise of our own turmoil that its absence can feel like emptiness. But peace is not an empty room. It is a room where the constant storm has finally passed. You will know the process is working when your mental energy shifts, when you stop rehearsing the old scripts and start asking new questions. When your focus moves from "why did this happen to me?" to "what is this preparing me for?" That is the moment wisdom begins to grow in the fertile ground between what was and what will be. There is a powerful psychological truth. Our minds heal by telling stories. When we reframe our experiences, we change our relationship to them. We stop being the main casualty of the story and become the author who understands its purpose. This is why practices like journaling are so effective. Research shows that writing about emotional experiences for just 15 minutes a day can significantly lower anxiety and increase a sense of well-being in a matter of weeks. The writing doesn't erase the event. It organizes the emotional chaos into a coherent narrative. Letting go, then, is a form of internal housekeeping. And we must not forget the body. We store the weight of our unresolved emotions in our muscles, our posture, our very breath. This is why people sometimes experience sudden waves of emotion during physical activity like yoga or a long run. The body remembers what the mind is trying to forget. Letting go, therefore, is not just a mental exercise. It is somatic. It is the unclenching of your jaw, the dropping of your shoulders, the long, slow exhale of a breath you didn't realize you were holding. The art of release is also an act of trust. To open your hands, you must believe that life continues beyond this single point. You must trust that the unknown is not a punishment, but a field of potential. In the midst of loss, our perspective narrows. We can only see the emptiness in front of us. But time shows us that every ending secretly plants the seed for a new beginning. Think back on every past heartache, every failed plan. You couldn't see it then, but that ending was clearing the ground for what was to come. Letting go doesn't erase your history. It helps you find its purpose. Our obsession with control is another barrier. We operate under the illusion that we can manage every outcome. If we are smart enough, kind enough, or try hard enough, we can force things to work. But control is often just a disguise for fear. Real power is not found in forcing things to stay, but in trusting that what is truly meant for you will find you without your desperate effort. This is the heart of non-attachment, to engage fully with life, but without the need to possess it. Look at the natural world. A sunset doesn't fight its own ending. A tree doesn't mourn the loss of its autumn leaves. We, too, can learn to honor phases for what they gave us, rather than resenting them for not lasting forever. Every chapter, every person, every version of you has its season. Sometimes, the most difficult release is not of another person, but of the former you. The one who accepted less, who believed the old stories, who thought they had to earn their worth. Personal growth can feel like a betrayal to that old self. But that discomfort is the price of evolution. Letting go is not about forgetting. It is about remembering with a new perspective. It is looking back without the urgent desire to return. It is knowing the story is part of you, but it is no longer the whole book. And when you reach that point, when your memories feel like soft lessons instead of sharp wounds, you will know you have transformed your pain into understanding. There will be days when you think you've mastered it, and then a song or a scent will bring it all rushing back. This doesn't mean you failed. Healing is not a straight line. It is a spiral. You will revisit the same pain from higher levels of awareness, each time with less intensity, until one day it is simply a story you carry, not a wound that carries you. This is the remarkable resilience of the human spirit. And perhaps this is the very essence of a life well lived: to learn the rhythm of holding and releasing, to love deeply, to grieve honestly, and then, when the time is right, to open your hands once more. Because letting go doesn't close the book. It simply allows you to turn the page to a new chapter. You can't force yourself to forget, but you can choose how you remember. You can decide to see an ending, not as a loss, but as a necessary transition. The bridge that connects who you were to who you are becoming. When you stop asking, why did it leave? And start asking, what did it teach me? The entire landscape of your past transforms. And maybe that's the greatest secret. The act of letting go is never really about the other person, the situation, or the dream. It is about reclaiming your own freedom from the illusion that you needed them to be complete. You were always whole. You just forgot for a little while. There comes a turning point where you stop trying to resurrect the past and instead take a step, however shaky, into your future. You stop questioning what you did wrong and start realizing that not every broken thing was yours to fix. That quiet, invisible moment is when letting go becomes liberation. The human brain craves certainty. It wants clear answers and neat endings. But life is written mostly in commas and ellipses, not in final periods. We carry unfinished stories within us, sentences that will never conclude the way we had planned. And yet, within that open-endedness, we discover the space to grow. Because when something departs, it doesn't just take something from you. It also empties a space for something you haven't yet imagined. One of psychology's toughest lessons is that closure is not a gift others give you. It is a choice you make for yourself. Waiting for an apology that will never come, or a message that will never be sent, chains your inner peace to someone else's awareness. Letting go means cutting that chain. It means declaring, even without your permission, I choose to heal. Many fear that in releasing the past, they will lose the love and meaning it held. But the opposite occurs. You keep the essential wisdom, purified of its associated pain. This is emotional integration. When we process our experiences instead of fighting them, the raw hurt gradually converts into insight. The event remains in your history, but its nature changes. It becomes a source of strength, not a source of suffering. The world often tells us to move on. But moving on isn't about pretending something didn't matter. It's about fully acknowledging that it did, that it changed you, that it carved depths in you that you didn't know you had. Growth doesn't delete your past. It rewrites your relationship to it. Part of letting go is also forgiving yourself for not knowing then what you know now. We judge our past selves with our present-day clarity. But that clarity was born from the very experiences you now regret. Those choices weren't failures. They were the necessary feedback for your own growth. There is a term in psychology called self-compassion. It is more than mere kindness. It is radical realism. It is saying, I was doing the best I could with the understanding I had at the time. It is choosing to see your past self not as a villain or a victim, but as a student navigating the difficult curriculum of life. The mind holds on because it mistakes the familiar for the safe. But clinging to what's gone keeps you rehearsing old anxieties instead of practicing new courage. You cannot step fully into tomorrow if one foot remains anchored in yesterday. Envision your life as a river. Every experience is a leaf floating on the current. Some leaves drift with you for a time, others are swept away. You don't jump in after every one. You learn to trust that the river knows its own course. This is emotional maturity, to participate in life without being drowned by it. Letting go is an active choice. It is deciding to stop feeding the thoughts that cause you pain. It is choosing not to reopen the wound each day by checking on who has moved on or dwelling on what might have been. Your brain will always be curious about unfinished stories, but healing begins the moment you consciously decide to stop writing the same painful chapter. Neuroscience shows us that neurons that fire together, wire together. The more you revisit a painful memory, the stronger you make those neural connections. But when you deliberately redirect your attention toward gratitude, toward learning, toward the present moment, you physically rewire your brain. You weaken the circuit of attachment and strengthen the circuit of inner peace. This is the science behind mindfulness.
It's not about emptying your mind. It's about observing your thoughts without grabbing onto them. When a wave of sadness arrives, you note its presence. This memory is here, and you allow it to pass through you. With practice, your brain learns that emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. Some days, release will feel effortless, like a deep cleansing breath. Other days, it will feel like uprooting something deep within the earth. This is normal. Healing doesn't travel in a straight line. It spirals upward. You will encounter the same pain from ever higher vantage points of understanding, until it no longer holds power over you. There is a quiet dignity in this process. You stop chasing reasons and start appreciating the mystery of divine timing. You begin to see that some chapters end not because they were mistakes, but because you absorbed the lesson they were sent to teach. Every person, every season, every challenge leaves a reflection behind. You can spend your life staring into that reflection, or you can learn to see the world through it. What many don't realize is that letting go doesn't always require cutting ties. Sometimes it means changing the terms of the relationship. You stop expecting them to give what they cannot. You stop needing them to complete a sentence that you are fully capable of finishing yourself. This isn't rejection, it's a wise recalibration. And one day, you will notice a subtle shift. You will pass a place filled with old memories and feel only a quiet gratitude. You will hear a song that once shattered you and find yourself simply listening. You will remember a face that used to cause an ache and instead feel a gentle smile. That is how you know the healing is real. Not when you have forgotten, but when the act of remembering has lost its sting. Psychologically, this is called extinction. The neural pathways that once triggered a pain response lose their charge. The memory remains in your mind, but the suffering attached to it dissolves. This is proof that your brain can heal, that your emotions are not permanent, and that peace is not a destination to be found, but a muscle to be exercised. Letting go also demands courage, because it means accepting that some stories will never have a neat, satisfying explanation. As humans, we crave narrative closure, but life often refuses to provide it. People vanish without a word. Endings arrive abruptly. Sometimes there is no profound meaning, only change. But there is a strange beauty in unanswered questions. They remind us that mystery is an intrinsic part of being alive. When you stop demanding perfect closure, you open yourself to imperfect, beautiful beginnings. You start to see opportunities blooming in the soil where grief once lay. You notice that life continues to flow, not out of indifference, but out of a deep mercy. Because if the world paused for every heartbreak, none of us would survive our first great loss. There is also a communal dimension to release. Every culture and tradition has its rituals. Funerals, farewell ceremonies, the burning of letters. These are not arbitrary customs. They exist because the human psyche needs symbolic acts to mark an ending, to teach the subconscious that it is time to begin anew. You can create your own personal rituals. Write that letter you will never send. Plant a flower to symbolize new growth. Walk a path you once shared with someone and claim it for your own journey. These small, deliberate acts reprogram your inner world, signaling that a new page has been turned. The deepest psychology of letting go reveals a stunning truth. We are not merely releasing the past. We are reclaiming the present moment. Every thought spent in yesterday is a moment of attention stolen from today. And the present is the only place where genuine healing can occur. Look at the world around you. Trees shed their leaves. The tide recedes. Nature operates on a cycle of release and return. If you cling to summer, you will miss the stark beauty of autumn. If you fight the winter, you will be blind to the rebirth of spring. Perhaps our suffering arises not from life's constant changes, but from our stubborn refusal to flow with them. There is a wisdom that can only be earned through loss. It humbles you. It shows you that you can survive what you once believed would destroy you. That survival is not about avoiding pain, but about adapting to it. You become softer, more grounded, less reactive. You stop needing every good thing to last forever. You realize that impermanence doesn't rob things of their value. It is what gives them their profound, poignant meaning. Imagine if a beautiful song played on an endless loop. You would eventually cease to hear it. It is the silence after the final note that gives the music its power. The same is true for people and for moments. Their fleeting nature is what makes them precious. So when life asks you to release your grip, It isn't taking something from you. It is teaching you the essential rhythm of existence. It is reminding you that love is not measured by its duration, but by its depth and presence. That the strongest form of courage is not to hold on tighter, but to open your heart wider. And in time, you will come to see the act of letting go not as a loss, but as a form of alchemy. The pain is transmuted into insight. The tears water something within you that is waiting to grow. You cease asking why you had to lose and begin to understand what you were meant to gain. Perhaps one day you will meet the version of yourself who has finally learned to stop reaching for what is gone. You will look inward and see someone lighter, someone freer, someone who is at peace with the natural flow of life. That person is not perfect, but they are authentic. They have stopped performing the act of being healed and have simply started living it. Because letting go is not a finish line you cross. It is a daily practice. Every morning, you wake up and choose not to carry what is too heavy for the journey ahead. Every evening, you set down what no longer fits the person you are now. It is an ongoing conversation between you and the present moment. Do I still need to carry this? And as you consistently choose peace, your heart becomes fluent in the art of release. You will stop fearing endings because you will understand they are merely transformations in disguise. You will stop demanding closure because you will realize the story of your life never truly ends. It simply evolves into its next form. The psychology of letting go is at its core the psychology of freedom. When you release what you cannot control, you return to what you can. Your attention, your presence, your purpose. You begin to see that every farewell carries a hidden gift. Every ending is a quiet invitation to start again. So if you find yourself standing in the space between what was and what is yet to be, simply breathe. You don't need to rush the process. You don't need to have all the answers. Just trust the release. Trust that what is leaving is making room for what is destined to arrive. And one day, when you aren't even looking for it, you will wake up and realize you are no longer holding on. You will simply be living, and it will feel like the sun has finally found its way into a room that has been dark for far too long. Because that is what letting go truly is. Not the end of love, but the very beginning of peace. If this perspective resonated with you and brought a moment of clarity, please support this channel by liking this video and subscribing to Wines of Thought for more explorations into the mind.